hustle, big shit. Big shit, big shit, big shit. It's a unique hustle, nigga. Big shit, big shit, big shit, big shit. Name another podcast like this.
Check it. This is a unique hustle. It's your boy ECO, and I'm here with the lovely, amazing, official Miss Jamaica. How you doing?
Nothing all going.
Man, hey man, God bless us with a jewel today, man.
I know.
Man, we having a fun time in New Orleans.
Exactly, fun.
We only been down here 3 times, right? This
Yes.
the 3rd time.
Mm-hmm.
19 years, 3 times. We've been together 19 years.
And you know what? I think this is the longest we've stayed in New Orleans.
Because we always go to Atlanta or something.
Yeah, every time we've been to New Orleans, we only stayed here for a day.
Here. Mac is here, man. We in New Orleans, man.
In New Orleans, in the Big Easy. Oh, and happy anniversary.
Thank you, man. We doing it, man. It wasn't easy. Let me give my
it got ups and downs.
Let me give my speech. You know,
okay, go ahead.
It wasn't easy.
It wasn't easy.
No, but you know, because
it wasn't the Big Easy.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, okay.
It was me mostly. You know, just sacrificing and doing the things.
Wait. Just you sacrificing.
I know. That's what I was just about to say.
What's going on?
What?
I mean, you gotta understand, man.
America. You didn't just hear that, America.
No, I gotta give it to him, man. I'm blessed to have you, so I understand that, and I know you put up with me. It was hard, yeah. So I cleaned it up good.
You
right?
see how I cleaned it up,
Max. So man, what's going on, man?
He cleaned it up.
So what's going on, man? Just give us a spiel, man. Like, man, you've been through so much. You done so much, man.
But before you get in the spill, no. I want to know. Let's go back before the spill starts. Okay.
Okay.
Let's go back.
That was
Are you
a spill?
born? Hold on. Born and raised here.
Yes, born and raised uptown New Orleans.
Uptown New Orleans. How was that for you?
That's a very good question. First of all. Uptown was very live. It was a lot of life. It was a lot of love. You know, it was dangerous at times, but for the most part, my childhood and upbringing was pretty fun. It was dope.
Siblings?
Yeah.
Brothers, sisters?
Well, I'm the oldest of 6, so
Oldest
Wow.
of 6.
I was the leader of the pack, and I didn't really have a choice. So
a lot fell on your shoulders.
Yeah, a lot always fell on my shoulders.
How was it being a leader? Because okay, were you a leader where because as a kid, you just do your thing. You're not thinking about, I have these siblings actually looking up to me, and if I do this, they're going to follow.
Right.
How were you as that leader?
Well, I didn't have the luxury of not knowing that they would follow. Like, my parents made sure I understood that you was the leader of the pack, and everything you do is going to affect the way your siblings see it and the way they
That's
view the
good.
world. So it was great that they trusted me with that type of responsibility, but it came with a heavy weight. So for a child, it was like, oh man. So a lot of times I just always, when things didn't work out, I just kind of felt, like I let everybody down. Yeah.
Wow.
And you were raised, because it sounded like your dad and your mom was in the household.
Yeah, my parents are actually still married today.
That's
They've been married now for
awesome.
45 years. This November will make 46 years.
Wow, that's a blessing.
Yeah, because since we started this show and interviewing a lot of people, not a lot of people have that luxury at all.
That's a blessing. I can tell you for a fact it is, because everybody we get on the panel be like, nah, my mom and dad, they not together.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
See, that's why I was like, what you mean you the only one sacrificing? Moms had to do a lot of sacrificing.
Man, I know it. I'll just give it a tough time.
I know you was joking. But they've been together now for almost 46 years.
That's a long time, and that's something that instills something in you as well. Mm-hmm. To see that, you have to stand on that as a child, as that being your mom and dad. You being in relationships, it means something. Mm-hmm. Like because you don't look at it the same. Right. You can't, because it's serious business. Because you grew up seeing that, right?
Right.
So that's the difference.
But you don't pay attention to it.
But I mean, getting back to it.
No, what I was saying is, but then when you're a child and you see your parents, having ups and downs or in the same household, you're not thinking about it. You don't think about it till you are grown and you have to deal with your own relationship, or you have to deal with your own. Because I remember when I got married, I called my mom and was like, Mom, I don't know how you balanced all of this.
Wow.
Children, having time for yourself, and then finding time for your husband. And I mean, it's a challenge every day to find time to make everybody happy, plus also take care of yourself.
Right.
Yeah. It very much is a challenging thing.
Parents make it look really easy.
Let's get down to the nuts and bolts.
And it just looks that way.
It just looks that way.
I feel that any relationship, a relationship itself is a sacrifice, because you have to sacrifice a part of yourself to, I guess you would say, mend with someone else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when I look at you going over there, okay. When I look at just coming up in New Orleans, how was it? We're gonna get on the music a little bit. Like No Limit, that movement when it first took off. How was it for you?
Okay, well, the strange thing is I had already been professionally recording records before No Limit came about.
Okay.
Like my first album came out when I was 12. That was like 1989. And I was introduced to the music industry by Gregory D and Mannie Fresh, who were a local group in New Orleans at the time. And by the time I linked with No Limit, or by the time the No Limit movement had started, like right around that time that it was on the verge of blowing up, I was probably at that period in my life where I was like, yo, something has to happen. Something has to happen. So I had a few offers from a couple different record labels. And
how old were you when you met them?
When I met
when this started happening for you?
I was about 19.
I was just trying to, so you had already. Who put you into music at 12?
Well, like as I mentioned, a guy named Gregory D from New Orleans put a record out in 1986. It was Gregory D and Sporty T. They were in a group called the Ninja Crew. The Ninja Crew actually split up around 87, and Gregory D found a DJ from the 7th Ward named Mannie Fresh.
Got it.
And they linked up.
There you go.
And Greg told me that, he told me from day one, he said, Lil Mac, when I get on, I got you. And he came, got me. And I was like 11 years old, and him and Mannie Fresh produced my first record, and it was released in 1989. So I was called, the name of the album was The Lyrical Midget.
Wow. And so do you still got that music? I can still find that music.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And so that was the young Mannie Fresh. I always thought it was different phases of Mannie Fresh anyway. So it answers questions for me.
Right. In fact, if you look at the video, I had a video out back then called I Need Wheels. Mannie is actually sitting right behind me.
Oh, yeah?
And, we were on the streetcar on the trolley in the video. And you'll get to see a young Mannie Fresh with like the high top fade and everything.
How was that like back then, producing music and just basically putting out music during that time with Mannie Fresh? Like, how was that?
Well, it was great. It was a learning experience for me. Like, Mannie actually taught me how to arrange my songs in what I would call song mode, because before meeting Mannie, my raps were like large run-on paragraphs. And Mannie was like, nah, Lil Mac, you got to break it down into 16 bars and then 8 bars for the hook. And so he kind of coached me on how to arrange the songs.
That is something.
And watching him do beats eventually made me want to, when he was probably outside or something, because we used to record in his bedroom. So when he was outside, I would sneak and go plug his equipment up and try to tap on the buttons so I could learn how to make beats. And eventually he sat down and showed me how to do it, because he knew if not, I was going to break his equipment. Because I was a kid. He was like 19, 20. I was like 12. And he just knew that I was a kind of a mischievous and stubborn kid who was going to do what I wanted to do.
Wow. So, once you start to link into the music, now let's go on up to 19 now, like the part where now the No Limit phase started.
Okay.
You got to make a choice. So Mannie Fresh and them was around then, because I know KL always tell me the story about he met Baby before Mannie, and he met Baby and Mannie before they knew each other,
right.
And stuff like that. So I understand that being that you guys are in New Orleans, this kind of stuff is going to happen. But for you, like, you were seeing the music, you was turned on to it early. Mannie didn't do the No Limit thing. How did that kind of, you know what I mean?
Right.
Split out?
Well, Mannie had already been with Cash Money before before No Limit had got really out there.
Okay.
Mannie was already with Cash Money. And in fact, I was courting Cash Money at the time.
Okay.
And I use the word courting because I was hanging around. I did a song with BG, and I was just trying to get in.
Yeah.
And, it was. I was just trying to get in where I fit in. And
where's that song at with BG? That's my.
It's
guy.
on Chopper City on the first.
I got to go
Chopper City. It's called Niggas in Trouble.
All right.
So we were, we talked to them, and I was signed to a record label at the time called Ionic, and I was with a good friend of mine named Storm. And we were recording an album and getting ready to release it, and something just kind of fell with the record label, and I was just looking for a new spot, a new home to go to actually record, and I met Cain and Abel, and started hanging with them because they were releasing music at the time under the name Double Vision.
Yeah, and
so I was hanging with them, and I knew Fiend. All of us, with the exception of Cain and Abel, but a lot of us kind of grew up in the same neighborhood. And so I was meeting some of the other guys through the guys I knew from my neighborhood. And my cousin, who is now deceased, he was a member of Prime Suspects with No Limit. And his name is Skanu. And, rest in peace to Skanu. But he kind of talked me into, it was a combination of him, KL, Mia, and Cain and Abel that kind of got me to No Limit.
They were trying to get you. So,
and if I missed out anybody,
I'm sorry,
those are
we
just the names that came off.
But let me ask you,
it seems like Mia be
hustling.
We
already see that she a hustler.
Right.
So when you made that decision though, so you had an alternative to go to Cash Money. So cause to me, the No Limit thing was big, even before the Cash Money thing took off, of course. But you had choices back then.
Yeah, what Cash Money was big locally.
See, in this region, we wasn't here.
Yeah, in this region, they were they dominated this region.
Even when Body was out? You see what I'm saying?
I guess both got their fair share around that time because at the time, I would say No Limit was probably bigger in the Midwest and West Coast at that time when Cash Money was dominating the local scene. And by the time No Limit came down south, by the time P came down here to kind of get what eventually became that sound that he's known for, I was working around Cain and Abel, Fiend, and people like that, and I did a song with Cain and Abel. That was the very first song I did as before I signed with No Limit. But the very first thing I did with No Limit was a song called God and Guns on Cain and Abel's Seven Sins album. So I met P at their video shoot for Gangstafied. And once I met him, we talked briefly. He was like, man, come to the studio Thursday with KL. And I came, and I had never moved back home. So that was kind of history after that.
So when you think about the music and the way that movement went during the time did y'all tour at that time, or was it just y'all were making music and just staying, in the inner city? Or how did it go?
Once I got with
you got with No Limit.
Well, when I got with them, they was right on the verge of taking off. Right?
Okay.
So it was great at that time. Tours were, people were calling from everywhere.
Everywhere trying to get you guys.
Yeah, we couldn't get enough tours. We probably could have we probably could have turned down some tours. There was so many calls for that at that time, and it was something. It was something to see, man. It was something big, and I was kind of an oddball out because I grew up an East Coast rap fan.
What?
So I really didn't listen to a lot of, I would say, to a lot of Southern rap at that time.
Who was you listening to in the East Coast?
Well, I grew up a die-hard Rakim fan.
That's me, man. I like
so
that.
You know
That's
what I mean.
A bad dude right there.
And when you grow up a fan of the God, it's kind of hard to. It's almost like when you're a 12th grader, it's kind of hard to sit in the 6th grade classroom, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because they lyrical, and
And that's not to say about the market. I was just saying certain artists, it was kind of hard for me to just get into if you didn't really have any complexity, because I was attracted to complex stuff. I really wasn't into simplicity. And when I decided to make the move to Get With No Limit, it was because I felt I would stick out like a sore thumb.
Okay, I get it.
You see what I mean?
I get it.
Because I needed that something that separated me from anything else, not just on No Limit, but down south in general. And that was one of the major factors. Like a lot of my friends who grew up like me are fans of certain type of artists. They were like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, I know exactly what I'm doing. Because if I go on the East Coast and sign with one of those labels, I'll just fall in the array of artists out there. And, you know, here I will be the only one that sounds like this. And that's what I want.
So you perfected that sound.
Don't know if I perfected it, but I worked on perfecting it daily.
So when you think about like, you know, just coming up and you end up, you know, basically, I know you hit a bump in the road or whatever, and you had to go and sit down for a while. Like, just explain it. I guess we can get into that a little bit. I know you over here waiting on that.
Right. So what happened? Why you got into
to stir you off the like? We don't know. I'm gonna be honest with you. We
haven't heard the story yet.
Never.
Okay. Before I get into that, I want to say this.
Okay.
I want to because I had a moment to think about some of the artists in the South that I really listened to.
Let's talk about it.
As far as lyrically, my favorite artist, and because I listened, it wasn't that I was.
Let me see who it is.
It wasn't that I was adverse. To a region. I was just more into a certain level of lyrical content.
Let me see who your favorite artist in the South was.
In the South, I would definitely say that Scarface
I knew it. I already knew it. I seen it. I knew that. I could have said it. I started to say it.
He was the...
Everybody said
he was that lyrical...
He bad, man. He never did a bad verse.
Yeah, he was that lyrical dude that I was like, yo, I didn't care what Scarface was talking about. The way he talked about it made me want to listen. I would say... Bun B always had lyrics.
See, I see where he at with him.
He was lyrical. 8 Ball. MJG too.
You can't do that. You not finna leave Pimp out. We finna be into it.
I'm waiting. That's what I was waiting. I was waiting. He ain't done yet.
I ain't done yet. I like 8 Ball and MJG. And Outkast, definitely. Outkast kind of made me proud of the South.
I just like Andre.
Yeah, she always say that.
Yeah, they made me proud of the South lyrically. So Outkast, Goody Mob loved Goody Mob.
Mob's good.
They were another group that made me proud of the South. And believe it or not, Mystical
bad, man.
But I can't really speak on them because we was on the same label. So I love a lot of them.
He's different.
I'll seem biased if I talk about the people on the label. Juvenile
was dope.
What people didn't give Juvenile credit for, his style was so unique that him and Mystical, I think that their styles were so unique that they didn't really get the credit I felt they deserved for their lyrical content. You see what I'm saying? Fiend, another artist that I think that his style was so unique that it kind of went over your head that was real lyricism.
But y'all was hogging the game during that time. It's not fair, bro. It's like that time it was phases where it wasn't nothing else going on. All the music was dropping with No Limit, man.
Yeah, and finally, I really this was because I had guilty pleasures too.
Yeah.
I didn't listen to all lyrical. You know, I always had that artist I didn't want to think. I always had that artist who I just liked to hear. And that would be Pimp C.
He was different.
I just liked Pimp's voice and I liked his tracks. I really didn't care what Pimp was talking about. His voice and his tracks was just fire. I mean, that Sweet John, he just had that sound.
And the production. He produced
That's what I mean, the tracks. Yeah. The tracks were just dope and he just had that voice.
Wow.
So that was one of my guilty pleasures. It was like, it really didn't matter. I just like it.
I can't lie, man. Scarface is one of those dudes. You mentioned him first. His lyrics and the way he ride beats, man, it's a difference the way he come in. I used to tell dudes all the time because they would say Jay-Z this, Jay-Z. I said, nigga, you bring Jay-Z, I'm going to bring Scarface, and I promise you he going to know what it is. I just know what type of dude Scarface is. He's not fit to go in there and play with nobody. I don't care who it is. It was Pac. He was going in there serious. You was not fit to out just whatever he doing.
He gonna do it to the max.
And it's a problem. But, like, you got to bring it.
But that's a true artist. I mean, when you in, I like to feel I'm the same way. If I get on your song, man, I'm coming. I really hope that you. I really hope you do your due diligence, and I really hope that you prepared, because I mean I'm gonna do me.
All right, now give us the spiel.
So now America, we get America. We're gonna get to the story.
Yeah, we're gonna get to the story, the spiel, the crash out, I guess. But usually, like, even when I crashed out, when I did things where it made me to where I had to stop and look at my car, it helped me so much, bro. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I know it sounds crazy, sitting in those courtrooms, whatever I had to do what I had to do. I wouldn't change a thing, because I wouldn't be who I am right now sitting at this table, bro.
I think I feel the same way. And I say that unapologetically, that we all have that road that we take in life, and your road defines you. And because the road defines you, it would be idiotic to not embrace and be thankful for that road, because that road defines you.
Correct. I agree.
So, with that being said, around 1997, once I got with No Limit or whatever, we were traveling. Everything was great at that time. Financially, for a young man, I was able to purchase a home and do a lot of stuff for my family that I dreamed of. Excuse me. Because we grew up, I won't say poor, because I used to say poor, but as a mature adult, I feel that the word poor is misused by many of us, because there are countries where there are people that are really poor, that have to walk miles to get clean water. So, just because I may have had this pair of shoes and not that pair of shoes doesn't mean we were poor. There are people that really don't have any food to eat. And some people say, well, we got this beans and rice on the shelf. Well, you have beans and rice. There are some places that don't have beans and rice. So I don't like to misuse that word poor. But we grew up with, I would say, we grew up lacking in some things. But we had essentials. We had a roof over our head. We had food on our table. We had clothes on our back. May have not been the best at times, but the dream is always to do better for your family. So I was blessed at 20, 21 years old to be able to take care and provide for my family. And I felt proud. I think somewhere along the line in my immaturity at 21, 22 years old, I neglected to really get responsible about those variables. And I always allude to those variables because it's those things that I think we overlook, that we see that's going on around us, particularly when they involve the people we love or friends. We overlook little things, and those little things add up. It might be a little speck of dust here, but in about 2 months, it might be a pile of dirt. So we overlook it. And I think that for me, I got to a point where I was moving so freely and swiftly in my life. I got comfortable, and I think I neglected to check those variables, right? Because being an artist, believe it or not, is it's a business. Being an artist is a business. The artist is a business, and a lot of artists don't see themselves that way. And even in the 90s, a lot of us, we didn't see our individual selves as a business.
Yeah, back then it was different than what it is now.
And when you're a businessman and you see yourself as a business, it's sort of like a lyric that Jay-Z said, I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman. And when you see yourself that way, then you're gonna protect that business, and you're gonna make sure that, okay, everything is proper, everything is in order, and that's what you should do. Well, I think that because in my immaturity, I didn't I didn't micromanage everything and everybody. And when you have certain elements in your surroundings, you have to be aware of them. And if they're not constructive, then they can only be destructive.
But how can you micromanage everybody? Because especially depends on how many people you have around you.
Right.
It's not possible for you.
It's impossible.
Right.
So that once again goes to knowing yourself and keeping even that in check, not having everybody around you, as many people around you. So, and let me say for the record that I don't think that any of the people around me had nefarious intent with me. It was just those variables that we failed to keep in check and keep things in order. So with all of that being said, it culminated in the night of February 20th, 2000. I was actually arrested on the 21st, but everything happened on February the 20th. It was a party that I went to that my mom gave. It was an event that she gave to showcase some artists from that area that we threw the party in. And I had just came from off a tour. I went to it. My job was to come make an appearance, to draw the crowd, sign some autographs, and roll out. Much of my family was there with me at this place. My dad, my mom, aunts, uncles, cousins. There was a gang of us in this place. And somewhere after midnight, a fight broke out between one of my cousins and some people and some guy in the club. Well, this fight resulted in the shooting death of one of these young men. And I left the place and went home. Went home not knowing if someone was even shot, because I would later learn that someone was actually shot and subsequently died. I would later learn that when the police arrived at my house.
So you left before the altercation, or you left
No,
after?
I left during the altercation.
During the altercation.
Because I heard a gunshot. But I
Okay.
didn't look to see if somebody was shot.
Okay,
You see what
got
I'm
you,
saying?
got
I just heard a gunshot, rolled out. And I didn't know who was shooting, or if in fact I was the target of the shooter.
Of course.
I didn't know. So my main concern was my mother, so I went towards the front door looking for Moms, because she was collecting the admission fee, and she wasn't there. I would learn about 10 seconds later she was in my truck, waiting on me. She hadn't left.
Wow.
So we left, and we headed home. When I got home, the guy who was at my house babysitting my two youngest siblings had told me that the detective, the St. Tammany detectives had called and wanted to question me about a shooting. It was at that moment.
That's quick.
It was at that moment, but we're talking about 45 minutes from where the place was to my house. And that was at that moment that I learned that there was an actual shooting and that somebody was shot.
Had died.
No, they hadn't died yet. Okay. So I had learned that there was a shooting. So by the time I was taken to the interrogation room, which was about a couple hours later, during the interrogation, the detective somebody walked in the room and whispered something in his ear. And it was after that, he told me that this is no longer an assault investigation. It's a murder.
Wow.
And so I was like, man, because the whole time I was in the interrogation room, my thought was like, man, I hope this person live.
Yeah, of course.
Because if they live, they're going to be able to tell them who shot them.
Shot them, that's right.
And when they didn't, man, I was like, I knew that everything pointed towards me. This just looked funny.
But it's crazy because when you're at a place where you have so many people around, you would think that there's a lot of eyewitnesses. Everybody can say who did what and stuff.
And there were. Any witness that basically made any statements in my favor were silenced, pressured, threatened, and anybody who said anything that remotely sounded like there was a possibility of me, all of a sudden became 100% sure it was me.
And you think that you were targeted because you were a public figure?
Initially, no. No, initially, I think that, well, let me say this. I'm an optimist, right? So I like to believe that people, I like to think that most people are doing or their initial approach is what they think is right.
Yeah.
Right? So I felt that initially they thought they were going to investigate the right person because I pulled a gun out in the club.
Okay.
When I heard the shot.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then I ran toward the door looking for my mom.
So I think that
I think that witnesses told him he had a gun.
And he was running.
You know, so I think that when they came to get me, they thought they was arresting the right person.
Mm-hmm.
But somewhere in between the interrogation room and at some point during the interrogation, I believe that they realized they had the wrong person.
Wow.
And that's when the devil in the details showed his face.
Of course.
I think then it was like a matter of, we have a famous person who has been broadcast all over world news that they've shot someone. And we are the ones who have given the information that this is the perpetrator.
So they're covering her.
We cannot go back and look stupid on the world stage saying that we arrested the wrong guy. Mm-hmm. So now what we got to do is we have to basically do what is necessary to stick these charges to him, no matter what, because this is bigger than him. This is about our department looking like it knows what it's doing. This is about the public having confidence in our department.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Was it a DA or something that was definitely working on this case? It had to be one DA that was.
Yeah, the DA name is Walter Reed at the time. He is now a convicted felon. He just got out of prison I think last year. He was released early because of COVID.
What was he convicted for?
Wiretap fraud, a couple other things. He was shaking different entities down in the area. They was paying him.
How does that weigh on the cases that he you know?
Well, I think it should weigh heavily, but
right.
You know, this is a real it's a real heavyweight that you would have to be going up against. The sheriff who spearheaded the investigation, which led to my arrest and subsequent conviction, is now a convicted felon. He was
wow.
He was convicted last year. He has 4 life sentences.
4.
The charges include rape, molestation, dating back to the 70s, incest, and the like.
Ain't that something?
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
They should pull up back every single case that all of these people tried.
They won't.
They won't do it because they know
it would
open the doors,
and it would make their department look
the justice system not just.
But it already making them look a certain way for these people to even get convicted for anything.
But see, it looks that way momentarily. And they know that the average person's attention span is so short. Oh, he got messed over, then it's gone. It's not in the news no more. If it's not in the news no more, it's dead. So the thing is, I don't really blame those individuals as much as I blame us, the public, who entrust these individuals and who have a chance to vote, and we vote for these individuals because they may align for different reasons, multiple reasons. They might be our family. They might be our neighbor. But when we're giving them or we're voting someone in a job with the public trust that is as important as the district attorney's office, we need to be certain that this person is just.
But at the same time, if the information of them not being just isn't out there and they put on that face to make it seem like we can trust them and we don't know that we cannot, how can we vote otherwise if we don't know?
Right, and that's a good point. But I would say and I try to be as politically as correct as I can possibly be. But I'm gonna just be raw.
Go ahead.
They be knowing these people.
Yeah.
Bottom line, these people be political allies.
It's a good old boy system.
Yeah, these people be aligned with them in their political views, and they don't care about if their views are I would say hurtful to people outside of our clique. It doesn't matter. Yeah, he does that. I don't care. I don't like them anyway.
But Mac, how much time did they like give you? Because we didn't get to that part, but I didn't mean to cut you off. But I'm just trying to figure out like when they convicted you.
Yeah, I was convicted of manslaughter.
And you had to? Did you cop a plea? You had to?
No.
They gave you. The judge gave you.
Yeah,
you innocent. You said I'm innocent all the way
to
through.
the end. All the way to the end.
Just like
the jury. I was actually charged with murder. I was facing a life sentence, but the jury came back in their deliberation with a manslaughter verdict. And manslaughter in Louisiana carries 0 to 40. I was given 30. And
you tried appealing and all of that?
Yeah, I tried everything. Everything was denied.
21
years, and I was pardoned by Governor Edwards. So thank you, America. Thank you, Governor Edwards.
But after all of that, one thing I wanted to know, because a lot of people, when you think about being wrongly convicted, and that you are there, how angry were you when you were in prison, and how long did it take for you to get over that anger?
The weird thing is, I probably was angry momentarily.
Really?
Momentarily. When I first got in that cell, there were a few things that I prayed for. It was a couple things that I prayed for. And I'm not a big religious person, but I do pray. I have prayed, and I do. One of them, the main thing was that I didn't want to become black-hearted. That was the main thing. And, I didn't want to be bitter because I have seen what happens to bitter people. Yeah,
my question to you is, while you were in prison, were you angry? Because anybody in their right mind, wrongly convicted, would be angry out of their mind while they're in there. And if you were, how long did it take you to get over it?
All right. Initially, I was very angry initially.
Okay.
But I deal with anger
differently.
I deal with it internally. I try my best not to display anger.
Okay.
I just kind of deal with it inwardly, and it's painful. But I'm not a big religious person, but I do pray. And one of the things and most important things I prayed for while incarcerated was I prayed, just to not be black-hearted. I didn't want to be bitter. I didn't want to be mad at the world because, bitter is self-consuming. Bitterness is self-consuming, and I didn't want to be that person that's just mad at the world because of what happened to me.
Did you have children at that time?
Yes, my son's mother was 6 months pregnant when I was arrested. So by the time I was convicted, my son was 1, almost 2.
Oh, so you were able to see him being born?
No.
Oh, no. Okay, you were.
No, when I was arrested, she was 6 months pregnant.
Okay, because I didn't know if you came out on bond or anything like that.
No, they denied bond, everything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. In fact, just to back up, 10 days after my arrest, the person who actually did it confessed to it. He went to the officers and he confessed to it and told them he did it and told him why. Yeah, they said that they had reason to believe.
He was lying.
They never presented these reasons, but they had reason to believe that he was compensated for his confession by me, and no limit. It's like, what can you? And me and my lawyer, our argument was, what can you pay a man to go spend the rest of his life in prison? That doesn't even make any sense. We're not talking about this is my weed or this is my stolen goods. That's for me. That's not for them. No, we're talking about a person who confessed to killing an individual.
So what did he say as the reason why he confessed?
He said the guy broke a bottle and rushed him with the bottle, and he said he shot him.
So he's looking at self-defense.
And that was part of the reason they said that he was lying. Their argument was that he's not only trying to get me off, he's trying to get himself off.
Right.
And I was like, I have never heard of anything like this before. And he confessed 3 times.
Lie detectors, they didn't try to do a lie detector?
They probably did. But they also did a test on my hands for gunpowder residue.
And found none.
It found none, and the test kind of came up missing.
Okay, you get convicted. Now you say the anger is not really just there, but then you go to Angola. Where do you go to prison?
Well, I went to I spent most of my time at Elaine Hunt Correctional Center, but when I left the parish jail, they sent me up north to Concordia Parish facility, and then I stayed there for 2 years. Left there, went to Fort Wade, which is further up north, and I did like 2 weeks there because I had to go through processing, and then they sent me to a place called Winfield. I did 2.5 years at Winfield, and then I was sent back down south to Elaine Hunt, and that's where I spent like 15 years at Elaine Hunt. I think I went to Angola for a week to get my tooth pulled.
Wow.
And I just tried my best to make the best of my time in prison. I tried not to wallow in the sorrow. Of what happens, and I think you know, a lot of it has to do with just my upbringing. I just was never. My parents didn't raise us to be victims, you know, and as painful as the situation was for me, I always tried to see the good in it, or try to see, if not the good in it, see a light at the end of the tunnel. And then there were people around me who were in situations that I felt were far more worse than mine. Like there was a guy who I was incarcerated with at Hunt. He had been locked up 46 years for a rape that he didn't commit. He's out now. He was they found DNA evidence to let him out. And you know, it's this man is in his 60s.
Wow.
But in a case like that, and they found DNA evidence and to let him go, did he go back and sue the city?
Well, if I am not mistaken, and don't quote me on this, Louisiana has like a $200,000 or something cap on what you can get for wrongful convictions.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah, they make sure that you can't really get nothing. And unfortunately, the people that wrongfully convict you are not held accountable.
Was this before the C murder thing? It had to be
yeah,
before.
Mine was like 1.5 years before.
So, but they started rolling those around the same time, though, the same way. When I say thinking of it, you dealing with the same court system?
No, I was dealing with St. Tammany Parish. He was dealing with Jefferson Parish.
Okay, cool.
Which are not the same, but they are.
You got no limit, they all these all rub shoulders. You know that, right?
And these are the two most. These are two of the most conservative parishes in Louisiana.
Wow. Did you guys do time together, you and C?
Yeah. In fact, I did the last couple of years I did at Elaine Hunt. C was there with me.
Cool. Well, how is he doing? And
he's doing good. You know, C a fighter.
Yeah.
He's never gonna give up his pursuit for freedom, and he shouldn't. You know, because he was done wrong, and you know, they know he was done wrong. Just like in my situation. I think in situations like ours, it don't even be about the money for them. It's like what they can the point they can prove is far more important to them than what money you can spend with them as far as on lawyers and stuff like that. They use us, I think, to to spread this "I'm tough on crime" message. Here goes one of your heroes, and I'm gonna show you that if he get in trouble, I'm gonna do him so seriously to make sure that none of y'all can think that. It's sort of like they use us as deterrents.
Yeah. So So you said spirits is good, so that's a good thing. Just the conversations. He been gone now for years, man.
Yeah.
How long has he been gone?
Like 20? Like I was in there 20.
Yeah, about 20.
21, so he did
20.
I did 21. He's about right at 20 now.
Wow.
And you say you weren't bitter in prison, but how was he?
How was his spirits?
Was he bitter like in the beginning stages when you?
I'm pretty sure he went through the same stages we went through, because we all, I think everybody, and you can probably attest to that. We all, in the beginning,
feel like you got done wrong.
Yeah, you're mad. You feel like, man, how could this happen to you?
Yeah.
There were times I questioned God.
Of course.
Like, man, how could you let this happen to me?
Yeah.
But it eventually was like, okay, I got to the point where I was like, all right, now this prison could be hell for you, or it can be college campus. It's up to you. You make it what you want it to be. And I chose to make it my college campus. And I chose to learn and to do whatever I can do.
While you were in there?
Yeah, I want to do everything that was constructive, anything that can help me get in a better situation. And I like to win. I don't like to lose. So when I was there, I kind of started paying attention to the guys who were in similar situations as mine and who were getting free. And I just started following the trail they left. Because in prison, freedom is a win. So I don't like to lose. So I went to paying attention to them and just following that path that they was doing. So all of the other foolishness that people was doing to let out that anger they felt, that bitterness they felt, I mean, it wasn't helping you. It wasn't doing nothing, other than telling people how you feel. And what's a feeling?
And
you get over that in 5 minutes.
You seem to be very humble and laid back type of person. But I know that, I've heard a lot of stories from people who've been in prison.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's a lot of violence and gangs and all of that.
Yeah.
How were you able to survive during all of that and not being able to, were you involved in any of those? Because from what I hear, when you go, it's almost like you have to check in, you have to almost pick a side, all of that sort of things. Did that affect you when you went to prison?
No.
And how come?
Prison is a weird place. Yeah, that is a true statement. America, prison is a weird place. All right, so you have different prisons all over the country. And in Louisiana, gangs aren't really big in Louisiana prisons.
Okay.
Louisiana has figured the prison thing out, if you ask me. Mm-hmm. See, when you isolate people and put them in a certain group, you almost kind of validate their gang. See, Louisiana don't do that. About to stick all y'all in this dome. And guess what? You're gonna have to get along with each other. All y'all killers. So guess what? There is a unspoken code of respect, because everybody know the potential danger of the next man.
Okay, it makes a lot of sense.
We're in an open dome, no cells.
50-man tank or
120-man warehouse with just beds in it. So you're not about to blah, 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 blah.
And go to your cell.
And go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Because ain't no walls
To
separating us.
Wow.
You threaten someone, tell him you're going to do him this, that, and the other.
You can't close your eyes.
And then you wake up in the middle of the night and he's standing over your bed.
Right.
So it was like that's why I say Louisiana, this prison thing.
They got it figured out.
They figured it out. So you had, some guys don't care. You had violence. But if you mind your business and you did the right things in prison, I learned early on that I was able to evade much of the foolishness. Because the foolishness in prison centered around 3 things: gambling, drugs. I'm going to try to say this in the most political correct way.
He tried to find it right.
He failed me.
Yeah, I know exactly what it is.
The other thing. I'll just say that. That's the other thing. So those 3 things are what most of the violence centers around in prison.
Yeah.
And if you are not involved in one of those 3 things, it's a good chance that your prison stay will be as bearable as possible. That's what, because I don't want to say smooth. I don't want to say good, because nothing is good about prison.
You can run into any situation.
And you can run into any situation. You'll have your bumps in the road. But if you can avoid those things, it'll be bearable.
He pretty much said, mind your business.
Yeah. And
simply said.
And that's basically it.
That's
Mind
all
your
it is.
business.
But did you end up having to cut off a lot of family when you got out? Because, you know, sometimes you'd be gone so long and you would think that a lot of people would be down for you and hold you down while you're gone, but you realize who is really your friends, who is really your family, who is, you know what I mean? Did you have that problem so that when you came home, your circle that you had became a lot smaller?
No. I started by saying I'm an optimist, right? I don't see things that way. I don't think anyone owed me anything.
God, that's your time. You
see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was always that type of child from a child who just, I take me. I'm my responsibility. Nobody else.
I agree
right?
with that.
And because so, I don't expect much from people. And I'm never disappointed because I don't have those expectations.
I gotta ask you this before we get off here. BG, did you ever get to do time with BG while you was gone?
No, he was in the Feds.
Oh yeah, he was. Yeah, I'd seen him before he went to the Fed. He been gone about 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's like a lot of rappers, man, catch it. You know, it's almost like it's a target, not just through the judicial system, but within themselves, within the hip hop police. It's all kind of stuff geared toward it, man.
It was. I mean, and make no mistake about it. And let me say this, and just for the records before we go, I don't ever want to come across as downplaying this experience or downplaying the injustices that exist within our judicial system, within our criminal justice system, and within law enforcement. I don't ever want to come across as downplaying the enormity of how it negatively affects
our community,
certain groups of people,
our culture,
right? Certain cultures, right? So that stuff is real. But just on an individual level, on a personal level, I feel that every person is in control of their destiny. And the way you see the world, the way you perceive it is what it is. Because we all define our own reality. Two people can look at the same thing. And guess what? Depending on how they view it, I mean, how they feel about it.
Perception is everything.
Perception is everything. If my partner and another guy get into a fight, this dude can beat the crap out my partner. If I don't like the dude, I'm gonna say, man, my partner was hurt already.
Right.
I'm gonna find a reason why my partner was in the right. My partner can punch down a 80-year-old dude, and if you like your partner and you're on that end of it, you're gonna the average person will be like, well, man, he shouldn't have did this or he did that, and that's what made because people just see things with their heart, not their eyes.
But when you came home, you weren't able to file any lawsuits or anything like that.
No, because I wasn't exonerated.
Okay.
Yeah, but just what do you plan to do now? What's the game? What's the end game now? What's the end thing that you're gonna take care of, Mac? Like oh man, what are we doing?
All right, the end game is to have peace of mind. That is the end game. I think that everything we do and we pursue in life is to try to get us a peace of mind.
That's it.
So, for me, I love mentoring.
Okay.
So what I do now is I work with kids with a certain organization, with two organizations actually, and one of them is an after-school program where we do a lot of workshops for kids, teaching them, just trying to give them the opportunities that didn't exist when we were kids. Mm-hmm. Another organization, and that one is called the Youth Empowerment Project. Another organization I work with is called Son of a Saint. It's for fatherless boys.
Okay, good.
And I'm passionate about that one because through mentoring in prison, one of the things that I realized was about 80% of the young men that came to my class that were under the age of 23
was fatherless.
Mm-hmm. And these were all prisoners. These were all young men between 18 and 23 years old, and 80% of them were fatherless. In fact, I used to ask every class, it might be 30 people, I'd be like, yo, how many of y'all got a father in your life? 3 of them might raise their hand. Mm-hmm. So I realized early on that, I realized in the neighborhood as a kid that there was something different about me and my friends who did have their father and the guys who didn't.
Mm-hmm. I want to. I guess I'm gonna end it, but just far as Mannie Fresh, far as Master P, far as all these known name people, what are some? Have you spoken to them since you've been home? And basically, like, what is those conversations like?
Oh man,
it's just love
for me. With anybody, it's just a mutual respect.
Okay,
for me, you know, it's when I first got out, man, he took me out to eat.
Dope.
You know what
Dope.
I mean?
That's
so,
kind of stuff I'm into. Because when you get out, the first day out is serious for me.
Because everything changed. Everything is not the same anymore.
What had changed so much? That's another thing. Like, what was the biggest?
It's always cell phones. It's always cell phones.
That social media, man.
And look, the phones were flipping when I left.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And you can chirp on them.
Yeah.
Man, I don't even know what this is. My wife have to take care of the phone for me. Like social media, I have people be seeing me. They be like, "Man, I DM'd you."
What's a DM? How does that work?
In fact, I was so computer illiterate. No, well, I'm gonna say social media illiterate. That my wife had to tell me that Willie D had sent me a message after I did the podcast with them. And I had to
shout out Willie D.
I had to shout out to Willie D, man. I enjoyed my time there. And what's so crazy is I had to message him and Scarface to tell them that I just realized what I was doing. And Willie just hit me back with a bunch of crying, laughing emojis. Because I was like, man, I don't know what I'm doing, man. I didn't even know how to check this, you know.
So did you even did you know them guys personally when you left? You didn't know those guys, did you?
No.
Correct. But when you came home, they reached out to you because of they know your story.
Yeah, the story. They are. And you know, I mean, I grew up fans of the Ghetto Boys, so
of course, me too.
It was a no-brainer when they were like, you know, the Ghetto Boys want you on your podcast.
Like, I'm going over there. So, you come to Dallas too. We bring you up to Dallas.
Yeah,
I gotta show you some love.
In fact, I think what was the best thing that one of the highlights of my time there at that podcast, because it wasn't the best. It was a lot of things I enjoyed. But I asked Face once we finished.
You had your own fan moment, didn't you?
Yeah, I told him, I said, man, I know you play instruments. I said, let's jam. So I grabbed the bass, he grabbed the guitar, and we just jammed out.
That's dope.
We ain't really, I don't even recall taping it.
A lot of people,
it was just for me.
A lot of people don't know that Scarface is so into the producing.
Right.
You know, Mr. Lee talked about that on our show.
Yeah.
He was like, man, Scarface, because they play golf together. They golf, big golfers. And he was like, man, Scarface good at golf, but man, people don't know he can produce, man. You know, like he can rap, but he got so many attributes to him.
Right.
That's dope, man. How did that make you feel to jam out with
that
him?
was cool. I just wanted to be able to tell my grandkids we jam.
Man, so how is it like going on that podcast? I see him. I love their movement. But Willie D was already doing stuff. I think it's like he pulled Scarface into it in my mind, because he was always, Willie D was on it early on.
Well, Willie has always been outspoken. Yeah, and those kind of people, people like Willie D are gonna always be leaders in the community because they're unapologetic and unafraid, and those are the kind of people that we need as leaders in our community.
Well, let me tell you something. Being from Texas, man, them boys right there, they made us look a different way. I felt my spirit through them guys, like, because they were known from Texas. It's like, yeah, we from Texas. It meant something when you seen Willie D and when you seen Scarface and when you seen Jay Prince, man. You know, like, we knew that we was special, and that helped us. Like, even I know P, he and y'all impacted down here. So, and we so close, man. The boot right by Texas. So it's Texas to Louisiana, Louisiana to Texas. I told you where I'm from. Man, I'm 5 miles from Louisiana.
I like how big the houses is in Texas for the money.
Yeah. That's the hustle.
Man, see out there, you can get a big house for a couple $.
And it look nice. It's very nice and spacious. The land is spacious.
Yeah, so that's
man,
what I
thank you for coming on our show, man. Man,
did
like
we
I
leave
said,
anything out? Is everything?
I think we.
How did we do?
We let him.
Y'all did great.
We let him do it.
Yeah,
he done it.
Y'all did great. Now me, America, I didn't do too well.
Man, please, man.
But
You're
I
so
enjoyed
dope,
it so
man.
much.
Your spirit is it's dope, man. And I hope when you come to Dallas, you're going to come by our set so you can come by our actual location, man. And we'll set all that up, too.
Yeah, we'll
You'll
do
get
that.
his number in exchange.
Yeah. I'm gonna bring y'all both up. I'm like, y'all gotta come to my spot. You know what I'm saying? Thank you so much for coming on the show, Mac, man. It's been a blessing to meet you on our anniversary, man.
On your anniversary, happy anniversary to y'all.
If
I'd have had a piano here, I'd have played.
That's all right. We gonna get you. We gonna get. So, are you gonna be doing like shows and doing little things?
Yeah. Y'all see me. Oh, and before I go, let me make sure I say this. I have a new album coming out.
That's what I'm talking about.
Memorial Day. It is called Son of the City. So
you gotta come to Dallas, man. At some point, you gotta market yourself now. You're through the East.
Yeah. I still don't know how to use that thing, man.
You got a publicist for that.
That's what she's gonna do.
She's gonna have to get it. But when y'all marketing and y'all come on the show, when y'all debut, when is it coming out?
Memorial Day. That's a day.
That's right.
Then I look that up. That's coming up, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
You excited?
Am I? This album is
like a comeback.
Well, this album is a dream come true for me. It's real personal, and it's finally me doing it the way I've always wanted to do it.
Can't wait to hear it.
Thank you so much, man. You're a blessing, man. We love you here on Boss Talk 101.
Thank y'all, Boss Talk.
Man, you family now. You can't get out of it.
Yeah, well, you know,
you got to meet the kids and everybody else.
I'm one of them family members that kind of show up and be like, what y'all got to eat?
We gonna feed you. She Jamaican, man. Come on, man. Stop playing, man. Yeah. Say, man, it's been another great segment of Boss Talk 101 where the bosses talk.
And we out.
And we out.